welcome to the Centre Think Tank interview series In Conversation. My name is Torrin Wilkins, the Director of Centre Think Tank, and today we'll be discussing social care, the staffing crisis in the sector, unpaid carers, and the challenges facing the system, including our ageing population. With me today to explore these issues further, I'm delighted to be joined by Baroness Pitkeathley. Baroness Pitkeathley has a wide range of experience, including as a member of the House of Lords and Deputy Speaker of the Lords. She's seen firsthand the issues that we'll be speaking about today as co-chair of the Carers All-Party Parliamentary Group and former CEO of Carers UK. So thank you so much for being with me today, Baroness Pitkeathley.
Very welcome.
So for my first question, the government has recently announced a new commission into adult social care, which will be led by Baroness Casey. This is by no means the first review of its kind. Is this review necessary, or do we need large-scale action now to fix the social care system?
Well, I think the answer to both of those is yes, we do need large-scale action now, but this is a start. I have the greatest admiration for Baroness Casey, who's got a terrific track record of delivery. You're right in saying this is by no means the first time we've been round this track. I remember when because I was a member of the Lords in the Labour government of 1997, and a Royal Commission, you're probably too young to remember, but a Royal Commission was set up and made a lot of recommendations then. So it's been a long time coming, but I welcome Baroness Casey's appointment, and I will do everything I can, as many other people will, to help her with her review.
So in terms of the actual social care system and the fixes needed, what do you think the review could shed further light on, given that we've had so many reviews in the past?
Well, I mean, in a way, we do have to go back to 1948, I'm afraid, because when the NHS was set up, then social care was not seen to be an issue. And the simple fact was men died when they were 66. That was the average age, right? 1 year after they retired. And women died about the age of 67 and a half or 68. Well, now look at the ages at which people die. And that's a wonderful achievement. We've got at least 20 more years of life on average. But it's brought the care needs of such people into much sharper focus. So it wasn't seen as an issue. But what people always forget, I think, that social care, such as it was in 1948, has always been means tested. It's never been free at the point of use, as the health service has, for the simple reason it didn't seem as though it was necessary. Now, of course, it is necessary. And it comes still as a terrific shock to people to discover that when their older mum or their frail dad goes into a care home, they have to do a financial assessment and they have to pay for it, unless they have very, very little capital indeed. So it's been something that successive governments have ducked, because actually it's a very major issue and requires for fixing a great deal of money, which in these difficult times we haven't got.
So one of the proposed solutions, and I think you touched on it briefly there, is to create a sort of free at the point of use system similar to the NHS as it exists today. And is that sort of thing, is it feasible? Is it affordable? Would it sort of solve the problems that we're having? Or is it a deeper issue than that?
I think it is a deeper issue than that. I mean, I'm all in favour of a national care service, but I think the very best that we can expect is to have some kind of assessment at the point where you need care. But the fact is, what we've got to do as a society, as a nation, is prepare ourselves for the care needs in our older years and for the older needs of our parents, or indeed adults with disabilities and care needs. We've kind of ducked it as a society, and nobody wants to think about it. Nobody wants to to plan for it. But we do have to plan for it. And that, I hope, is what, if anything really constructive comes out of the review of social care, I think it will be an honest conversation. And you know, we are trying to have cross-party conversations now, which is very, very welcome. I think we have to have an honest conversation about what your care needs are going to be, how they're going to be met, and what contribution are you going to make to them. Because to fund it out of general taxation at the levels taxation is going to be impossible. I mean, I don't know if you've had any experience of what care in a residential or nursing home costs, but depending where you live, it can be £4,000 a week. You know, I mean, we're not talking small sums here. And so what we need most of all, I think, is to get, you know, people plan, you know, for their health needs, don't they? They do think ahead about what they might need. They even sometimes think about moving house to live into a more accessible place. We have to do much, much more of that. And I think if we did that, then we might find we might have more success in insuring against our care needs. The insurance sector has never stepped up to the plate about this. There's never been any product really that people wanted to buy that can insure against their care needs, because everybody hopes it's not going to happen to them. But what we've got to do, and actually only, I think it's 1 in 4, maybe even 1 in 5 of people really incur those huge sums in care. You know, most people, it's not those vast sums at all. And so if we were to share the risk like we do in health, some people cost the health service a great deal of money. Others pass quietly away and hardly have used anything. And as a nation, we share the risk. That's what we've got to learn to do with social care, it seems to me.
In terms of an insurance system, it's a really interesting idea, sort of similar to what they use in Germany in some respects, I suppose. And how would do you think there's a way to go about setting something like that up? As you say, sort of industry hasn't quite stepped up to the plate.
Industry hasn't stepped up to it. I think it would have to be some kind of nationally set up system. Maybe that's one of the recommendations that will come out of the social care review, who knows. But whatever it is, it's going to require individuals to spend some more money. You know, I mean, I'm a great believer in a hypothecated tax. I'd put a penny on the income tax for everybody, and that would solve the problem. But the Treasury doesn't like hypothecated taxes, as we know. But you know, people pay national insurance, don't they? They pay national insurance. People, when they're retired, don't pay national insurance, although many of them still do part-time work. That's another area we could look at to fund this, of course.
So, of course, one of the big debates that we often have is around social care, and sometimes it can almost focus too much on the social care system and care homes in particular and social care at home. But often what we overlook is unpaid carers, who a lot of which rely on the £82 a week carers allowance. So should that be increased? And is there anything else that we can do to better support them?
Well, you will never find me ignoring unpaid carers. That's my main focus. They save the nation £192 billion every year. That's the cost of another health service. They do that willingly and with love, but sometimes often at great personal cost to themselves, not only financially, because of course many people give up a paid job in order to become a carer. And what do they get? £82 a week, as you say, the lowest of all benefits. But it's not only financial costs they incur, because caring can be extremely stressful. It can be stressful to your own relationships, to your own health, both physical and mental. And most carers who are caring for long periods and for many hours in the week report that their own physical and mental health suffers greatly. And so we really need to be doing as much as we can for carers. Now, I've been campaigning on this for 40 years, and I have to say we have made quite a lot of progress. If I tell you that 40 years ago, when I started in the caring business, the word carer was not in the Oxford English Dictionary. It did not exist. Well, come on, we've come a long way since then. But if I get down and depressed, it's because I see how much there is still to do. Of course, carers have got a better voice now, thanks to the likes of Carers UK and to the pieces of legislation that we've managed to get on the statute book for carers. And yet, every carer I meet, and I still do meet carers all the time who say, why didn't I know? Why didn't anybody tell me? Why didn't the GP refer to me to places where I could get some help, and so on? So, and it really is the very best investment that we could make in social care, because they are the cheapest and most effective form. So it makes a very sound economic sense as well as moral sense to support those carers.
So, I mean, you spoke a bit about the sort of economic impact. Why do you think that hasn't made a greater impact on politicians? That there is such an economic impact of people caring for their relatives and, as you say, saving the system such a vast amount of money?
Well, carers don't go on strike, do they? They don't even ever threaten to withdraw their labour. But I've noticed that when MPs themselves come across this, when I have to say it would usually be the MP's wife rather than the MP who finds themselves in a caring situation, they suddenly realise how inadequate the system is, and that's when they start to speak up for carers. But the fact is that carers, they do what they do. Caring takes place in a relationship. If you weren't in the relationship with that person, you'd never become their carer. And that makes it quite different from the paid carers who come in to help you in that situation. And so the nature of that relationship is what really activates the caring, and what works out how the caring is going to be. And sometimes that works very well. But if the mother with whom you've always had a difficult relationship suddenly becomes frail and needs your help, that doesn't make it all sweetness and light, but you do it anyway because you have a strong sense of obligation and duty. And I get very cross when I hear politicians say, as some of them still do, oh, the trouble with our society is that families don't care anymore. Not from where I sit. Families are still caring as much as they ever did, and more, because the systems are letting them down.
So, of course, on another issue, the care system itself does have a shortage of staff, and there are massive challenges with recruiting additional staff on top of that to fill up the current shortages. So how do we make caring more attractive, and what can be done more generally to tackle that staffing issue?
Yeah, well, I'm bound to say Brexit didn't help, because so many of our paid carers did come from Europe, and then further restrictions on people coming and bringing their families. That hasn't helped either. There are a huge number of vacancies in the care system, as you know, and when you can earn more money stacking shelves in Sainsbury's than being in a care system, which often doesn't even pay you for your travelling time between care appointments, why would you do it? Look, I've seen it work tremendously well. I've got I had a 104-year-old aunt who died just last week. And we kept her at home all that time through the system of paid carers who came in to help her. And every one of them knew what she needed. They were sensitive. They were wonderful. But why would you do it when the pay is so poor and you've got no chance of promotion, you've got no chance of care progression? Now, that's what we've got to do. We've got to make it a much more attractive career. We've got to pay it better, but we've also got to recognise the skills that people have and give them an opportunity for promotion, give them an opportunity to move from being maybe an unpaid carer to being a paid carer, to take your training as a healthcare assistant, to moving to become nursing. I've seen that happen all the time in the care system, but sometimes it's how you have to fight the system rather than it facilitates you. But those are the things we do. And I do believe that the government has that in mind and is very committed to improving the conditions of those care workers, as well they should.
So for my final question, I want to think a bit about the future of the care system in the context of what is an ageing population. So what do you think the future of the care system will look like if we currently go down the path we're on? And what can we learn from other countries that deal with these challenges differently?
Well, I think the care system is teetering on the edge at the moment. Everybody says it's teetering on the edge of breakdown, and heaven knows we don't want that to happen. So we do have to do something radical. We have to fund it better. We have to plan it better. But when I say we have to plan it better, I really mean everybody. It's not just something you can offload to the government, or either local or national. And of course, we haven't mentioned the voluntary sector, who make huge contributions in this area. All of those contributors need a lot more support and a lot more planning. But the best thing that we can do for the social care system is, as a nation, as individuals, think about what our own care needs are and start to plan for them and talk about it in your family. It's a difficult thing to say. I know, I'm old myself, and it's difficult for my kids to say to me, "Now then, mother, what are we going to do with you when you can't go into the House of Lords anymore?" What are we going to do? But those are the conversations that do have to be had. And I think if the attention around Baroness Case's review only does one thing, that is the most important thing it can do: talk about it and plan for it.
So are there any other examples of other countries that might be sort of useful to follow? I know we spoke a little bit about Germany before and their system.
Yes, there's Germany, there's Scandinavian problems. I mean, all of them are struggling with aging. All developed nations are struggling with aging populations and fewer people to pay the bills. But what you can't do is have a Scandinavian system, which has always been very good, on an American set of taxes. I mean, you can't do that. You've got to pay more for it in some way or another. You have to pay more for it. So I'm afraid that's the simple message.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today and discussing all these issues. I think it's a very good place to leave it. You've got to pay for it somewhere. So thank you so much for joining me today.
You're very welcome. Thank you.